Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Dark Phoenix Gaming here, and I thought we could do something a little different today, because I've not been able to do conventional recording or streaming for a little while, and I'm still working on my 2025 games I played videos, so in addition to that, I recently actually managed to get myself out to my one local used game store that has a decent selection and finally traded in the couple of Nintendo Switch games that I still had and hadn't got around to selling after I sold the console. I don't quite remember why, but I still had them, and I managed to get about $70 worth of trade-in credit for that, so that was about 5 games, which I then turned around and exchanged for about 13 or 14 Xbox 360 games. Because I don't really do game collecting. I buy games that I'm going to play, or that I do play, but other than PlayStation 2, which I keep them mostly in disc binders and the cases stay in storage, just because I play it a lot more than most modern stuff. I just figured, since I have them all in the cases still, I would take the opportunity and we can go through my Xbox 360 game collection. And I can talk about it a little bit. So I've actually got all my games sitting right next to me over here. So let's get started with my first one, Fable 2, which this is actually a special one because this isn't a recent acquisition or anything. If I open it up here, you can see we've got the manual from back in the days when games came with manuals. Relatively hefty manual for a game of this age, and I honestly kind of miss that. I loved reading through the manuals and everything in the cars as I came home. It was great. Other than that, hilariously, I have an unused and now expired free trial to Xbox Live Gold with the Fable 2 branding on it. And other than that, there's an advertisement for a game called The Last Remnant, which I know nothing about. I may have to look into that one a little bit. But yeah, Fable 2, this is actually my original copy of Fable 2 that we got here. This came from GameStop in 2010. Possibly 2009. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah. That's where this came from, and the existence of this game is one of the primary reasons I still have my Xbox 360. And this is the original version, so it's not the Platinum Hits Game of the Year edition. It doesn't come with the DLC. I had to buy that separately through the Xbox Marketplace, back when that was still up and running for the 360. Yeah, this is a really fun action RPG, and is one of my first big RPGs that I got really into and actually played to completion multiple times. I think I must have played this game 3 or 4 times total, because Fable 2, and I'm really not sure the reason for this. To this day, I'm a little unsure about why, but Fable 2 is the only game in the series that was never ported to PC. It's just stuck on the Xbox 360. Now, there's a non-zero chance that it's also available on the Xbox One and the Series consoles, but as I don't own either of those platforms, I can't verify that. But yeah, great, absolutely phenomenal RPG. Cannot recommend it enough. And we're actually going to cover something else real quick. There's not much to it, but I actually do own a second copy of Fable 2, which is the Platinum Hits Game of the Year edition, which I got on eBay because at the time I was a little bit concerned that maybe one day Xbox would shut down my ability to download the DLC, and I wanted to be able to get that DLC and have it on disc, even if that happened, because there's actually some really good stuff in the Fable DLC. The manual for this one is basically the same, no adverts or anything. So really, the only difference is you have a little tag in the corner saying how there's extra quests and things, and it's in the Platinum Hits case. That's all there is in terms of differences. And these days, when I want to play Fable 2, I stick with Platinum Hits because I don't have to futz around with going through past purchases to try and download the DLC. It's just all on the disc, which makes things a lot more convenient. So, next up, we have Fable 3, which I know a lot of people think is not a particularly good game, and I won't say they're wrong. It's definitely a step backwards compared to Fable 2, and I never really played the original Fable, so I can't compare it to that, but it's definitely a regression in that respect. So, we got our manual here. Nice Albion logo and everything. And some lovely little instructions and cards and everything. But for me, I actually kind of like Fable 3 in spite of that. It did get a PC port, but the PC port is kind of stuck in an odd limbo at the moment where it exists, but you can no longer buy it because as Microsoft can't make the CD keys needed to redeem it. And if you're wondering why, it's all because of games for Windows Live. So Fable 3 was one of the few games that used that. I do have the PC version in my Steam library, but honestly, it's easier just to mess around and download the DLC through what's left of Xbox Live in the marketplace and everything, and just going through my past purchases. That's easier than trying to get the game to work when Games for Windows Live no longer exists. And this game was an interesting one for me because it also holds the record of being one of only 2 games, well, 3 now, that I have ever pre-ordered. And honestly, I can't say it was a bad game or anything. It's a downgrade, and there's some things that are a bit simplistic and, Peter Molyneux lying about everything, as is standard with him. But I had a good time, and I think it was worth the $60 it cost me. Yeah, good game. I don't know that I would necessarily recommend it. I'd be more likely to recommend 2 over 3. But it is a fun time if you're already a fan of the series and don't mind some things that are just objective downgrades. Next, we have Destiny. A lot of people are probably familiar with Destiny 2, and you can still buy Destiny 1 on the current series consoles. Like, there's a PS4 version. If I ever get a PS4 or PS5 again, I sold my PS5 a while ago. But yeah, if I ever get that, I'll have to try this out on there. Yeah, no manual in mine. I honestly don't know if it comes with one and they just excluded it, or it was because this was a used copy and the person had just lost it or something. The only thing it comes with is an advertisement for the expansion pass and several of the DLCs that I can't buy because the store was closed. There is another edition of the game called The Taken King that I'm thinking of getting at some point, which comes with all the DLC that were ever released for the Xbox platform on the 360. I do have fun playing this game. It is a good time, but I'm not able to play it at this moment in time because Destiny has to install a bunch of updates. And my current 360 doesn't have an internal hard drive. I'll have to wait until I can get one of those and install it before I can play this game again. As a prior 360, the one with the buggy disk drive that I've mentioned in a few past videos, I could play it on that. I have a good time as far as just a fun shooting game with some very light MMO elements that actually feels more complete and less blatantly cash grabby than something like Destiny 2. I actually really like this one. Even if it isn't the best game out there and there are other things I would like to play more, I still enjoy it. Next, we have Gears of War. Which at this point, I should hope I don't have to explain what Gears of War is. But I've owned this game and Gears 2 basically as long as I've owned Fable. Since about 2010. And if I open it up, we've got the manual here. Now, the first Gears of War actually doesn't have the Horde game mode that you got in Gears 2 and later, so the only multiplayer, as far as I recall, is the competitive multiplayer stuff. Most of the manual is like backstory and lore stuff and some flavor text. But then we have a few pages right at the back dedicated to advertising other games. So I've got a couple full-page adverts for Crackdown, Forza 2, and Perfect Dark Zero. And an advertisement encouraging you to subscribe to Xbox Live. Yeah, Gears of War. First third-person shooter I ever played, actually, now that I think of it. And just an awesome, all-around great game that I really encourage anyone interested to check out. Next, Gears of War 2. So just more Gears of War, essentially. And to mention, I really love what they've done with the manuals, where it looks like a futuristic military instruction booklet. That's kind of a cool touch. Got a nice little listing of all the weapons here and everything. This was the game where they first introduced the wave defense horde mode, so you could do that and just fight against the AI until you went down and see how long you could last. And you could do that solo or with other people. And it was great. Honestly, even just as a purely offline game, I probably played this more than any other shooter I ever owned. And I had that much of a good time with it. Unfortunately, I don't own Gears of War 3 right now. I used to, but I sold it right when I was getting into college. Really wish I hadn't. And I am going to try to get another copy eventually, but not right away. Next on the list, we have a game which I owned at the time, but which you actually can get on PC, but it's one of those that even if it is mechanically better on PC, I prefer not having to deal with developer shenanigans, publisher shenanigans, their ridiculous launcher, and just the experience of being able to just put the disc in the tray and play the game overvalues the graphical increase of playing it on PC. Yeah, for me personally. But make up your own minds for that. It's Borderlands, which I've actually only beaten one time, but I played a ton of it back when I had my a 360, which, well, had my 360. I mean, my old 360 Elite, which was given away to GameStop. And this one, of course, also comes with the manual. And in something that dates this to no end, the back of the manual is an advertisement for Duke Nukem Forever, the notoriously awful game. And a first access card, which is no doubt worthless by now. And this is the Game of the Year edition, so it includes both the game disc and the add-on content disc to install the DLC. Which, Borderlands is another interesting one because by and large, I'm not the biggest fan of first-person shooters. And honestly, as far as FPS games and looter shooters go, the only two that I've ever played and honestly fully enjoyed, really, are Destiny and this. I briefly had that experience with Destiny 2, but after a while, it just started to be not as fun. So I stopped playing. Now, to move on to the next thing on our list, we've got Dante's Inferno. Now, Dante's Inferno used to be on PC, but it was pulled from Steam. I am still not sure why they did remove it. And this seems to be from when manuals were starting to become something of an afterthought, because if you look here, you'll see it's quite thin. There's not many pages to it. You've got the controls and some very basic descriptions of actions you can take in game. Xbox Live advert and the warranty information. As well as a coupon for $3 off a Dante's Inferno DVD, which is only valid through August of 2010. You know, I think that might not be worth anything anymore. Yeah, I actually don't know anything about this game. I've had it on my list to play for a number of years, but after the PC version got pulled, when I saw this at my local game store for only $5, I decided it was worth picking up. Especially since I had the $70 of credit. Next on my list is Street Fighter 4. And as you'll see right there, the case is in kind of not great shape, so I'm going to replace it. At some point, I'm planning to order a replacement Xbox 360 case off of Amazon and swap in the artwork, but the disc is still in good enough shape, and so is the artwork, so it functions for now, and I can replace it later on. There's no manual in this one. I don't know if that's because they shipped it without a manual, or because the copy that I bought didn't have one. I'll have to look into that later. But I did get an advertisement to sign up for a Street Fighter themed Capcom Visa card in there, which I thought was quite funny. Fighting games, I generally don't play a lot of them, with like 2 or 3 specific exceptions. But I've been curious about the Street Fighter games for a while now, and it looked interesting, and it was only $5. So I got it. Next is another one with a case that's in kind of rough shape. As you can see from right there, Far Cry 2, and again, I do plan to replace that case. This one, I don't have much else to show you, and I'm like 95% sure this is just because that wasn't included. It could have just not been a thing that existed, but it has no manual. Now, I know this is on PC, but again, it's a twofer on this one. This was pretty cheap. It was like $10, I think. And generally, I just liked the idea of having the 360 copy of it. I don't know why. I just liked the idea, so I picked it up. I've never actually, though, I might come back to showing off this game if I ever decide to play it and fully finish it. We will see. I've played the first Far Cry a little bit, and I finished the third one, but number 2 is just not happened yet. And my next one might surprise you because I could have just got it on PC. Yeah, obviously. That being Grand Theft Auto 5. Which, believe it or not, I've never played before. And this is one of those games that it's a multi-disc affair because you have to actually install the game on a hard drive. So until I can get one of those, it may be a little bit before I play this one. But other than the discs included in here, we have a very thin manual that barely meets the qualifications. It's essentially just the controls. And then it tells you to visit a website if you want to see the full manual. But the real meat of that particular product is that it comes with a map of the GTA A5 city, double-sided, which is too big to actually show on camera properly, so you probably didn't get a very good look at it. So sorry about that, but yeah, as you can see, it's quite hefty. Yeah, that was interesting. I'm looking forward to playing it. I've heard all of the GTA stories, but I have never actually played GTA 5 myself, so I'll be interested when I finally get a chance to check it out. Next, we have Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning. Which I did actually own when I was a kid, but this is a recent purchase. It's not my one from back then. And again, it doesn't have a manual, though I don't know if it's because there wasn't one, or just because this is a used copy. It comes with a little 90-day warranty and advertisement for Xbox Live, as well as an online pass to get access to some DLC, which I can't use because the Xbox Live store is closed. So unless there's like some physical CD for the expansion or something, I'm SOL for that one. I don't know much about this game, to be honest. I've played it a little bit on and off. I know I enjoy the combat, and the whole thing they have going on with Fate is pretty neat, but I'll have to give it some more playtime before I can really say anything. Because it's been a while since I've really played this one, and I didn't get very far in it. Okay, 3 to go, but I'm saving the most interesting for last. Next up is Ghost Recon Future Soldier on the Tom Clancy Ghost Recon games, which, as the name suggests, it's a futuristic shooting game. I played it back originally when I was just about to get into college, and it was a lot of fun, but what I can say is I don't really remember much about the game. I know it's a third-person shooter, and you can turn invisible. There's some fantasy future war thing going on, but that's about as far as my memories extend. And the manual is one of those non-manuals that just gives you accessing the in-game manual. Uplay and an advertisement for Far Cry 3, so pretty disappointing manual on that front, if I'm being honest. They must have been starting to phase out manuals when that was going on. And this is also one of those better with Kinect sensor games, where if you had the Kinect, you could use it to shout voice commands and things, I would assume. But that's it with that one. I know I kind of sped through that entry, but there wasn't a whole lot to say. Now, for my penultimate one, we have Saints Row. So, this one is interesting, much in the same way that Fable 2 is interesting. Because it's the only game in the series to never get released on PC. Saints Row 2, Saints Row 3, Saints Row 4, and the god-awful Saints Row remake that the majority of people don't acknowledge and that I never played, all came out on PC. This didn't. Got a nice hefty manual here. Lots of lore, backstory, controls, and everything. And illustrated to make it look like it's paper and it was written and not typed. Or typed in an interesting way. Even in manual credits, if you look there. That's a nice one. Now, I will be honest. Again, Saints Row is a series that I'm not too familiar with. I played a tiny bit of Saints Row 3 a while back. And I know with this first one, they were sort of trying to make it almost a competitor to Grand Theft Auto, and then ended up embracing the more silly and whimsical things later. But like I said, I don't know much about the series, but I'm definitely interested. And now for the last game in here, the one that cost me about $40 of my 70 credit. Nier. So, this game was made by our Lord and Savior Yoko Taro, and is the prequel to Nier Automata. Kind of. You actually might have played a modern version, because there is a variant of it available today on PC and consoles called Nier Replicant. The thing is, when Nier originally came out, the version I have right here, not the new remake, apparently the people at Platinum Games thought that having a kid as, or a teenager rather, as the protagonist wouldn't appeal well enough in Western markets, and they wanted a grittier, more realistic take on that, so they changed some things. So you're actually the father of the main character is the father of an individual who, in the original telling, you're the older brother of. I know I'm being kind of vague, that's on purpose. I like to avoid spoilers for this sort of game. But yeah, it's a JRPG, and it's a really good one in my opinion. Probably one of the best games I ever played. In fact, I don't know the order things will be going up, but the list I'm working on right now for my top games of 2025, Nier Automata and Nier Replicant were both top 3 games this year. Or up there in either top 3 or top 5, depending on how I decide to structure it. The only difference between Near and Near Replicant is some stuff with the protagonist, and Replicant has some extra content that was previously in Japan-only audio dramas and things. So I just thought this was a really neat little title and couldn't resist picking it up. And that is it for my current collection of Xbox 360 games. I'll probably come back and do another video like this if I pick up some more stuff. And even though I'd mostly just be showing you the discs out of binders and the ones that I do have of the cases for this, I'm considering maybe doing something similar for the PlayStation 2. So that's the only other system I really do game collecting for. Anyways, thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this, please leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe to see more like this. And let me know if there's any particular games you want me to go in depth about or anything like that. Bye for now.